know, this is all above board according to him. But other than that, we do have, if you guys noticed in our client document chat, we did post our agenda for today. Is that? You good? So if you'd like to bring that up, yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Are you recording?
Sure. He's recording. Yep, you're good.
Okay, cool.
You should be good to go.
Excellent. All right. Welcome to our JAD1 meeting. You know us now. We are Mutex Software. And if you take a look at the agenda document, you can also see our team roles and responsibilities. I'll just go over it one more time. I'm Keegan Wolf. This is Michael, and this is Connor. And then joining us virtually here is Alfredo, Brian, and Christopher.
Nice.
Yeah, just to get into the agenda here, the first thing I wanted to clear up, just a couple technical things. Obviously, there was some issues with our establishing our first meeting time. The time we established our first meeting for is a very hotly contested time period for the other groups in the class, unfortunately. So I wanted to extend out and make sure that, every time one of these meetings comes up, we're not rescheduling you guys constantly. Is there another time, preferably on Thursday, that would work better consistently for you guys?
I'm looking at my schedule, and I'm open pretty much anytime Thursdays, like 9 a.m. to noon, and then 1 to 4. So Art might have the restriction.
Okay.
Yeah, the restriction I have is the 1 to 2 o'clock time slot because of Team Retro at that time.
Okay, no problem. We actually have a couple members in the group that do have a class that goes, you guys, is 3:45. So they have something that goes till 3:45. No,
it's this class.
Would 4 to 5 p.m. I know you just said 1 to 4 is kind of your slot, but would 4 to 5 p.m. be potentially workable in the future?
Not for me.
Straight out? Okay, no problem.
Not for me either, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wish Professor Wu was here right now to help maybe think of a better time for us. I don't think we can do any earlier in the morning, unfortunately, unless you guys are free like 9 to 10.
I'm free 9 to 10.
Yeah, so I think what we'll do is moving forward for our second meeting, we will run it at we'll try to run it at this same time, so 2 to 3 Thursday. And then if there are more complications that come up, I will send communication and try to get that figured out. If that's acceptable for you guys.
Yeah, well, so you're saying that we'll work on a mutual time that'll work for us? This time, 2 to 3 p.m. on Thursday is a time that it works for about half of our group, and then we have some class complications, but we may be able to get that rectified on our side. And if we're unable to, we'll reach out. Are your guys' schedules on Tuesday exactly the same as well? Check.
Because you guys also have 2 to 3:45 on Tuesday as well for that class, right?
2:30 to 3:45.
2:30 to 3:45. That's right.
What was the question?
Is
I
the
think 2 to 3 open on Tuesdays, right?
Kind of more in general. If we could do.
Does that not overlap with this one?
Yeah, 2 to 3 Tuesdays, or if you have any time. No, not really. Yeah, Tuesdays afternoon. Is that availability still the same? Kind of the 1 to 4 window for you, Austin, and then Art after 2.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah,
Make
so
it
that
better.
works for me, except in March, I'll be out 2 weeks at that time.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, nothing we can do about that. Obviously, we're not going to try to pull you guys from a vacation or anything like that. But cool. At least that gives us a good baseline, and then we'll work on it from there. Okay, excellent. Thank you guys very much for that. I did want to. This isn't directly on the agenda I posted, but I was able to do a little bit more digging. I attempted to access the file that we were given a link to in our initial projects page, and it says I'm still not able to access it. I posted it in the message in the Discord chat, but I did a little bit more investigation and confirmed that yes, our Microsoft account email addresses take out the Cougars part based from the emails I sent you. So after this meeting, I will send you an updated list of the proper Microsoft emails that you can add, and then that way we should be able to get access from there. Okay.
That's good, thank you.
Excellent. And then I guess going on to the bigger agenda topics, I have listed baseline requirements and specifications. We have the initial project document. We talked in our first meeting, a web GUI for JSON, being able to read it, visualize it, modify it. And then I guess to that end, for the requirements and specifications, the two biggest things I was kind of curious about is you said in our first meeting that you were giving us kind of free reign how we wanted to go about it, where we wanted to host it, how we wanted to. Oh yes, sorry, Austin, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing I wanted to announce on. So maybe
Okay.
I should.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So first off, we want to apologize for any work you've done with that scope so far.
Just prep work, pretty much. So.
Yeah, so this was unintentionally real world.
Okay.
So in the real world, requirements and requests change
100%.
pretty often. And what we discovered in the last couple days is the project we gave for you guys to do is no longer possible for you to do.
Okay.
So,
no problem.
Yeah, so it's basically taken off the table.
Okay.
But we have another one for you.
Excellent. Great to hear.
And actually, I think you'll like it better. It's more real world.
Okay.
And it'll actually help out our team right now. One of our teams right now.
That sounds extremely interesting.
Yeah. So so I can kind of give you the Is this a good time to give the overview?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of the project?
Yeah, I mean, a good portion of our agenda was based around the old project. So yeah, I think now is a good time to establish what we will be working on.
All right, sounds good. Here I'm uploading a diagram. So let it finish loading, and then I'll share my screen.
No problem.
Yep. So I'm going to go very big picture, basically to a project that one of our teams is currently working on for golf software.
Okay.
And let me see, is there a way to share a whole monitor in Discord? It seems like it
Yeah.
only wants me to pick up. Oh, there you go.
There should be
Screen
another
right
tab
there.
that'll allow you to do monitor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Bring that up here.
All right.
This thing don't overheat, man.
Okay. Can you see my
Okay.
screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. I think
On my web signal. Oh, do I have to click on screen? No?
Yes.
All right. So can you guys see me trying to open up a file, basically?
Yes, we can.
All right. So, see how long it takes to load. But basically,
No problem.
one of the software projects that we work on is irrigation for golf courses.
Okay.
Industries, pilot software. Yeah, okay, good, it came up, great. So pilot is software like this.
Okay.
So you have golf courses, and they need to irrigate their courses, and it's very complicated. Lots of crazy math goes into it and scheduling. You can break down your sprinklers by greens, fairways, tees, all this kind of stuff.
Wow. Okay.
So this is the software that the current team that I'm on right now, and we recently did a third-party integration with another company. So yeah, you can have all the buzzwords go off in your head with synergy. Synergy, product synergy. So there's another company that has these pogo stick type things.
Okay.
And what they do is they jam them in the ground when they're walking around the golf course, and tracks temperature, moisture, salinity, and a bunch of other stuff about the turf for a golf course.
Okay.
And so what we did is they now send us their data, and then we show it inside of our software application.
Okay.
Basically, because it's like an innovation in the industry to have irrigation data alongside sensor data right next to each other.
Okay.
So as you can see here on my screen, I have Pilot up and running. And when you click on, everyone's still with us? I heard a noise in Discord.
You good? I think still good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so when you open up like a sprinkler, they're called stations, but you can just think of them as a sprinkler. You know, there's all these settings and things you can do to change what happens with that sprinkler. But now alongside of it is, hey, look at these readings. So like in the whole one greens, we can look at the moisture, temperature,
Wow.
and salinity of basically what's going on with that with the greens at that hole, right? So I just actually noticed something. I'll tell the team afterwards. Roll issue. Okay.
Little live action bug testing, no problem.
Yeah, no worries. And so this works great and all.
Mm-hmm.
And basically there's two problems. One is most of our products, we have a support page. It's like internal for hunter people, like developers like us, and people in the rest of the company who want to troubleshoot a customer or help out with stuff.
Sure.
Right now, Pilot doesn't have a support page. So any troubleshooting data gathering, we do it by hand, basically.
Ooh. Yeah.
So
Okay.
basically what your guys' project would be is to create the base website for the support page and then do the first feature of the support page. So, I mean, you can have a nav bar similar to this, you know, with like navigation. You can design that however you like, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, there would be only one thing you go to, like one page you click on and go to.
Oh.
And
Answers my
the
question.
support piece we need help with is when a customer is like, hey, I'm not seeing my Pogo data, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, that's hard for us to troubleshoot because there's kind of like encryption, decryption going on. There's a lot of security layers.
Okay.
And so it takes a while for us to like mine through the database by hand. And so what would be nice is that if instead of this, let me pull something else up. So this is like a very rudimentary mock-up.
Mm-hmm.
But you see how if we could plug in a site ID, which is something we would know about, we could get from the customer,
Mm-hmm.
or a site GUID. So there's basically these two inputs. And then we click search, it'll do, you know, it'll mine the database for us and then bring up the same component where we can look at the data that they have in their database.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so basically I think feature slice 1 would be to do it by site ID, and then maybe feature slice 2 would be to search by site GUID. And from your perspective, it's pretty much the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different type of way to search. And you don't have to use tabs. It doesn't have to look anything like this, but the basic idea is that you can tab back and forth to search, or not tab back and forth, but you can search two different ways, right?
So, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure, you know, we get the basics of what we're working down and make sure that, you know, what we're going to make is our path forward. So just as real basic key requirements are a support page by which you can enter in an ID that will, and I'm not exactly sure how your guys' database is structured, but basically it's going to, that ID, you want us to comb through the database and then return this data here for the site.
Right.
Excellent. Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, and one caveat is we only need you to do the front end. The back end
Okay,
is mostly done, and we'll fill in the rest.
okay,
So basically, you're going to take this site ID and you're going to hit an API route, and I'll give you the URL to hit.
Perfect.
Basically, and then you'll get a response back, and I can give you an example payload that comes back, so you can like fake it in your testing, right?
that's perfect.
So like, Yeah, so like basically I think and it doesn't even have to be hosted anywhere. Like you don't need to deploy this to the cloud or the S3.
Of course.
It just, if you give us a repo where we run the website locally and it just opens up in a browser.
Yep. And then you guys should be able to just take your data or the API and then just test it directly.
Right. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Exactly.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. And so basically it's only the front end we need. And so, when you're ready, I can give you the example payload you'll get back. So you can kind of fake it. You can research that if you want, like ways to fake data coming back from HTTP.
Okay.
But if you need help with that, let us know. And also, so you can do whatever tech you want. We just need something to run locally to do it, basically, preferably web. That way it could go to the cloud someday, be deployed to the cloud. If you do go Angular, you will have one benefit. Maybe it's not a benefit, but basically we already made this component such that the data will change. Like it receives the same payload you're going to receive, and it presents the data in a dropdown, like the different zones.
Okay.
And then when you select one, it paints it on the screen, right? It paints like the different visual insights on the screen.
Excellent.
So if you wanted to go Angular, it may not just slide right in because there's probably a lot of like global variable, like not global variables, like global CSS and stuff that might play into why this looks the way it does. But we could hand you the HTML, the component behind, the TypeScript behind it, to basically that does this work. But if you wanted to go with your own, something different than Angular, that's totally fine. You just might be, you don't even have to make it look like this, per se, like this mockup, where it's like you have the different zones and a drop down. But we'll want something very similar, because basically we just want to be able to see, like, when this user asks for sensor readings, what do they get?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and we want to see all the data, like the highs, the lows, the time date stamp, etc. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this is completely different than the original project, but I think just as interesting, and I definitely think this is fully achievable, no problem. So to that end, I want to touch on a couple points that were in my original agenda that can then be transferred over here. We have a deadline for the semester, of course, when the project needs to be completed, presented, and then some milestone dates that we can also share with you just to let you guys know kind of where we're hoping our progress will be. Did you guys have any company specific or specific to you guys deadlines for, of course the big one is project completion, other than, do you have the exact date of our presentation?
Yeah, so the presentation date is going to be on May 17th, I believe 1:45 to 3:45 p.m.
Yeah.
I believe that's the time slot.
So
Nice.
May 17th, if you guys need, if you guys need any other sort of deadlines or any other sort of major, anything before that, we're flexible. You're welcome to let us know. We're happy to work around you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. Go ahead, Art. Yeah.
I was just gonna confirm what so saying about vertical slices or feature slices, because if you get one of them, the search capabilities, that's already a very significant accomplishment there.
Definitely. Okay.
So, yeah.
So
But go
just
ahead
to
now, Austin.
sorry about that. So just
Yeah,
to jump, go on. You're good.
I was just gonna say, we have no deadline, like
Okay.
Gotcha.
significant deadline.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, all I can say is the sooner something's working, the sooner it'll provide value to
Of
the
course.
Hunter software team. But there's no like mad rush, like take
Okay,
your time,
sure.
do it right,
So then on that wavelength as well, we have 3 stages in terms of milestones. We have a first prototype, second prototype, and then obviously the final presentation. The first prototype, according to the professor, should be done around end of March, and then 3rd week of April is the second prototype, and then The final presentation, obviously, May 17th. So we could definitely try to work around that first or second prototype to have something presentable with just the ID, and then obviously we can go above and beyond and try to get those extra features you're talking about with the GUID, and then any of the added features for that final presentation.
Sounds perfect.
Nice. Yeah, that almost goes pretty nicely. Like if your first prototype is the first tab and the second prototype is the second tab, or and if you have more capacity after the first two, maybe we'll come up with something else. So
Great. We
Yeah.
did have
Go ahead.
some front end development. Obviously, with what the project was before, there was going to be a more visual aspect to it. So we did have a good amount of the team already prepped for front end work. So I think this is going to transition pretty nicely. But specifically, one thing that we wanted to ask about was for the if you guys had an internal styling document or anything like that with company colors or any sort of framework like that you wanted us to kind of work off of to make sure that we had things as close to possible as the products you guys are already offering.
yeah, I mean, you can kind of get the idea. Here, is there a way to access the chat? If I click outside of the meeting room, it'll probably
Yeah,
will I leave the meeting room?
No, you will not actually. You can open up any of the chats by just clicking on them, and then to come back to the meeting room video feed, you can just click on the meeting room, title itself. So.
Okay, gotcha. So I just sent you one link
Okay.
that shows you the pilot software.
Perfect.
So you can kind of get a feel from that. And then let me ask the UI guy on our side.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So while Austin's asking that, I was just going to bring up, as he mentioned about the 2 tabs, that's one way to implement the search. Another technique I've done before is to have like search by and then a drop down list.
Yeah.
Of course, 100%.
And then you can flip the placeholder text, in the adjoining text box to reflect with what you're trying to search by, that kind of thing. So, yeah. And so I'm saying, think outside the tab, think outside the whatever you want to do.
Okay. And as we get access to the data and see how those objects are going to be returned, or how specifically we are able to ping the API for that, we're going to be able to build a search method that works best for what you guys have, or the data that you guys have it going in.
Nice.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to populate that support page with, like FAQ, any sort of written content, or is it really just the text box with the pipeline, and then whatever output we're going to be able to do?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously this is just the starting point for the pilot support page. So obviously, maybe not obviously, because it's a good question, this is just like one feature of many. So, a nice to have, but not essential. Working great would just be the page loads and it shows only this, and that's it, right?
Right.
But if you wanted to have like a hamburger and navigation, and maybe if you wanted to have an example second page, maybe I could think of something. No, probably don't have a second page, because if you click on it, it'll take you to nothing, right?
Of course.
But if there's navigation that takes you to one page, you know what I mean? Like there's a nav bar and there's only one item in the nav bar, that's fine, But just the idea that we can extend it to have more pages for support.
100%.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said previously, we kind of had some of an agenda sort of built out, but, changes were made, but that's how things go. I think we have a good amount of information here now to work off of and really get started. Other than that, I'll extend out to my team. Does anyone else have some more specific questions about the new direction we're going in? All right, not everyone at once. All right.
And as Austin indicated, this is actually a very realistic scenario you may face.
Of course.
in your career.
Of course, 100%.
Change of direction.
I love the idea of the last project, and I love the idea of this project too. I think I speak for all of us when I can say we're just definitely happy to be working with you guys, and can't wait to see what we're able to make.
Right. I have some things I wanted to reiterate, if that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So you said just to be clear, okay, so we don't have to necessarily have to do the 2 tab things, but for sure have a way to search by two different inputs, right?
Correct.
And then you said that you guys got the backend covered, and that there's a way to like fake the data coming back from the HTTP, and that we can refer to you guys for help with that if we need it.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, depending on what web framework you pick, it'll probably be different how you would fake it.
Right.
But I know, like for example, in Angular, you can handwrite the fake. You know what I mean? But there's also like a npm package you can install that pretends to be a server and returns data when you hit specific routes.
Right.
Yeah, Deborah Crowder in her Pluralsight courses uses it, but I've never used it myself. But if you guys pick a different framework other than Angular, they probably have their own ways of doing it. But but usually with code, there's always a way to inject in, let's say, a service that returns fake data versus really going over to HTTP, right?
Yeah, of course.
So we can always do something like that. Yeah.
Okay, and then I have one more question. And so at the moment, there is no particular like style guide. It's just like the link you provided for us to reference.
Oh, so did you reach out to Gary?
Yeah, so I put in the client chat in Discord the mock-up that I got now, which obviously isn't following the style guide for the search capability. Like the purple is not Hunter at all.
Right.
We have the link to Pilot, so you kind of get a feel there, and then Gary gave me the link for Multimedia Hunter, so that is like the official guide, I suppose.
This is
I've never been.
Oh, sorry. This is exactly the documentation I think we were looking for, so this is incredibly helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, as long as you have the media kit, we can just use those colors and go from there. Also, then in regards to the mock-up, in terms of the look and feel of it, that mock-up that you're showing right there, that you just had on your screen, I have it on my screen right now, with the search by ID, search by GUID. So that one, once you input a search, then that bottom result comes out, so nothing's populated at the bottom, right? Before that search goes.
So it would just be the search box with the ID. That is like an entry. That's the in data, and then the out data is going to be the object, and displaying that is basically our project.
Gotcha. Okay, and then the first slice is to have it be done by ID, one pager done by ID, and then if we
basically the search functionality hitting the API properly, it sounds like.
And then we go in and add the extra functionality to GUID. And then obviously if we want to have future functionality for more tabs and things like that you guys can open up to, that seems like the scope of the project then?
Yes.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Okay. Awesome. Sounds very doable.
I guess I have a slightly more technical question. The site IDs and the GUIDs, is there a specific formatting you guys have for those that will stay consistent in the future? So you can do some sort of basically like form validation on the entry?
Yes. This is not the right mob station. Let me give you some examples. So here is an example site ID, so you can tell it's very long.
Okay.
It's almost